Hello, today we're going to do the part 10 of the continuous tutorial of the employee vaccine management system, and this is going to be the last tutorial of the whole series, because the idea is once you are able to do all this, you should be able to just add any module after that by yourself. Okay, let's get going. So last time we did the login page, and so you should have something like this. Now what we're going to try to do is, this is nice and good, and I think it works, but of course it doesn't have our own custom background and all this, so that's what we're going to try to do. Okay, so let's see how I'm going to do it. Let's go back to our code. The very first thing you want to do is you're going to go back to your config, of course, and your config basically says something like, hey, you have a login page, that's it. It doesn't have anything else. So here we're basically going to say, well, you have a login page, but we're going to tell you exactly how it's going to look like. So here you're going to have to say that, okay, there's a login page, and a login page would be people will be going to this URL, and this is the actual processing URL that's going to do the login. Let's just put that in there. That will be the kind of the action of the form. And then we also have to say how it's going to look like when you have a successful login. So when a success forward URL, let's say we're going to also have to do something about that, and we're going to say post login, and that context or that URL, we have to implement that. And then we also have to say, how do you want to handle the failed URL? So well, we kind of say that, hey, if it failed, we just wanted to say, well, there's a failed URL right there, and we just wanted to say you got to go to this another URL called login failed. Simple as that. And the rest of them is all of these URLs are permitted, all because it's all going to be permitted for everyone. They can try to log in. And then logout, we're not going to use also their standard logout, so we're going to have to come up with some stuff. So the first thing we're going to have to do is say, hey, our logout, you're going to completely invalidate your session. So that's the first thing. Then you're also going to clear any authentication that you have on the memory, and then we're also going to say that this will actually match logout request matcher. It's kind of like an ant matcher. Then here we have to say that new ant request matcher URL. Instead of typing it, I'm just going to copy and paste. There you go. And then there's also a logout success. Let's just import this guy. That. And then you have to say that there's a logout success URL. So when there's a logout, we want them to go something simple. We still want it to go back to the login page, but we're just gonna say logout. That's all. I'll take care of it. And of course, logout pages, everyone is permitted. And that's about it. Now, this is not going to be enough. So after logging out, they need to be able to land on some page. So that page, let's say we need to have access. So we're going to give access to admin and user, both of them. So we're going to have to add that page into this list, because this list basically says it's only accessible if someone has these two authority. So let's call that a home page. That's kind of what we called it. And I think that would do it. And probably one more thing right here, that since we are during login, we need to access this login URL, so we need to give access to everyone. So that, and then also in the login page, they also need access to our resources. We also have to tell that, otherwise by default they won't be able to access our CSSs and images. So we're going to need that too. /images /**. And of course you need to say that, hey, all of these things can permit all, that's fine. And then you have to end it because that's just another different request. And then add this as well. There we go. Okay. So basically here we are saying that if you really want it to be exact, maybe the login comes first. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing off of here. Put a semicolon there. So right after this, let's just put an and. And let's put the login stuff right there. So basically all I said is, here start giving access to all of these URL to everyone, and then there's my login page, and there's my logout page that I'm declaring, and then there's all the other restricted pages. This page would be similar to, of course, our maintain page. So let's go to a fragment or Raxin type similar to this. So let's just grab this page first, save as, and we're not going to be in any folder. We're going to be in the root folder. We're going to call our login page login HTML. So that's right there. And let's change this guy. This guy is going to end up being our home as soon as they log in. So let's go there. Okay. Now this login, of course, we can change this thing a little bit. We definitely do not need any of that stuff, so let's get rid of it. Let's delete that. And we also don't need any of the security piece because it's open to everyone. And in order to save time, I already have kind of like the form done for you, so I'm just going to go ahead and paste it and explain what this is. So it's just a normal form, and it has to be a post, definitely. And one of the things that we also would like to do is the action, if you recall, we basically mapped it with the login processing will do login, so that has to match. So that's what we're going to do, the action. And then there's the standard stuff that I have a nice header, form header, and I'm going to need a message text for that, definitely. And then I have the username, text, username, label, and an input, password, text that I need to declare. And then this piece right here is very important. This is the CSRF token. It stands for cross-site request forgery. So if you want to prevent your form from that, which is pretty important, you just kind of add this piece as a hidden variable, and using this variable name from Thymeleaf, parameter name and token, then Thymeleaf will automatically, with the help of Spring, we will add that token. And there is a button with the text login, of course, the submit button. Now another thing that's going to happen is there will be a success and error message, and that we need to handle those as well. So in order to do that, we're going to kind of put those things at the top of the form, so which is going to be kind of right here. So anytime there's an error happens, the Spring Security will automatically going to return have some error right there. And then anytime there's a nice successful logout message, and it's going to return something like this. So what all of you are basically saying, and if you have one of these error messages, just show it in a red alert message, and this should be the message: a generic invalid login. And when someone successfully logs out, just print a nice successful logout message. That's all that is. Let's go ahead and format this thing nicely. There it goes. And let's add this messages. So in order to save time, I also have those messages somewhere else that I'm just going to copy. So there's going to be one message for home. Then once you log in, then there's username, password, login, that's the button, and also the top header. Then that's the invalid login. That's message going to show up, and you have been logged out for if you've been logged out. So that's those two are kind of like these messages right here, and the rest of them are like here, there, there. Then you get your login button, which is somewhere right here, which is right there. So that should be actually like this. Okay. All right. So now that's that. Now let's see, once they log in, what's going to happen. We are going to call this action call dash do login. So we're going to have to implement all that, and then eventually we also mentioned that the login processing URL for success for the URL is this. So we need to implement all of these things. So let's do all that. In order to do that, let's create a new controller, because we don't want to mess up this language vexing type. So it's better to create a new controller. Now, in order to save time, as I always like to do, is just save as and create another controller. Call that a login controller. There we go. That. And let's go there. It's not going to be mapped with anything, and it's going to be called login controller. And we need the local, definitely. We don't need the vaccine repository. And our very first method, definitely, I would say that we're going to have multiple values that people can actually come, which would be something like this. So we have to say value equals, someone can log in as just going to the root page, or they could just type a slash, or they could just also go to the login. Any of that would work. That would come in here. Let's call that the login links. And then in here, we're just gonna go be pretty simple. Add model dot add attribute. We typically always add an attribute, if you recall, for a title. So let's grab from one of these places. There we go. So when you come to the page, it actually it automatically paints the title. If you recall, if you go to the header, actually I think it's probably the layout rather. Yeah, it gets the title from the page title dynamically, so we need to set that up. So all we're going to say is, hey, page title is nothing but login coming from that resource file. Okay, and after that, just say take them straight to a page called just log in. Okay, so it'll be a login. It will look for the login HTML. All right, so that's that. The next thing is, let's get rid of all of this other mapping that we actually not going to use. The next thing that's going to happen is, once they'll log in, that's the login, we also have copy and paste. We also have another one that what we said, if you recall in the security, we said that, hey, if there's a fail login, we're going to have to take care of this one, fail login. So let's do that here. So that would be mapped with this login failed, and let's call that whatever login failed. It doesn't matter, and doesn't need to take anything. And all this is going to do is just do a redirect. That's all. Simple redirect. The way you do a redirect, you just say redirect colon and just say login colon error. Right. So that would just kind of say, hey, there's an error, and then you'll error out. All right. So that's that. Next thing is, we also need to take care of the next piece that we kind of said that, hey, for success, go to post login. So take care of that. So what happens when you successfully log in? All of these things we need to take care of. So let's do that one and paste it here. Now this one's got to be a post, because that's what we said. If you look at your form, when you log in, it's going to be a post method, and that's a requirement as well. So this is a post mapping. So posting a value, and then that should be mapped with exactly what we said it should. Post login. Here we can deal with successful login. So let's get that. And we probably don't need anything. The only thing we're going to do is we're just going to say, hey, if you ever get this, we're probably going to need a model attribute. We're just going to basically say, hey, go and call another method. And the reason we want to do that is because we're also going to have a home link, so that they can come back to the home link and they don't need to go through this post login process. That's why. So we're going to have to have another method that we're going to call. So let's go ahead and create that method. Actually, let's copy paste. That will also kind of act as our home URL. So this is home. Definitely not a post, it's a get mapping standard. And right here, what we want to do is we want it to say that when everything is said and done, you can go to home HTML. Okay. Now, when you go home, the first thing is you wanted to set your home attribute properly, which is just calling it home. And then there's another thing that we have to take care of. If you recall, in our home page we had a welcome message. Now, the welcome message was looking for a request.remote user. Once you do everything manually, meaning that you have your own custom page, you're going to have to take care of this by yourself. So here what we're going to do is we're going to get the user and pass it as a variable. So let's call that variable current user, because this message, if you recall, it's coming out of here. Welcome, whoever the person is. So it is parameterized. So welcome, and it's the parameter would be current user that we're going to set before sending it to the home page. So let's go back here and let's see how you're going to do that. So of course we're going to need another model attribute. Now the way you would do it is it's pretty simple. You could just say something like, of course we wanted to call it current user because that's what we said. There's a class called security context holder, and then there's a method called isAuthenticated that will tell us that if someone authenticated, then only show these pieces. So that needs to be there as well. And then there's another thing we're going to add. We're just going to add one more link so that we can come back home by clicking on the home link. So we just kind of copied and pasted the logout. So the URL would be /home, which we took care of already, and the text would be home, which is going to come from message properties. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save and go back to our page here, and let's refresh this guy. This shouldn't come anymore, and yeah, it's gone. So log in, admin. Doesn't work. Let's go check the security quick. But I must have missed something. Oh yeah, I need a slash here, otherwise it won't really work. Okay, go back. Should miss an URL. Refresh this. And admin. Okay, we're back. So you go welcome admin, and now we got a home. Okay, so you should be able to go to vaccine types and add something. Edit, of course, and delete. All good. You can come back home, which will give you the welcome message, and then you should be able to log out, which will give you this nice logout message. And if you put a bad user ID password, and it's going to give you this nice message. And also you should not be able to go into any secure portals in there. It will kick you out into the logout page. Okay, so this is the last tutorial of this series, and I really appreciate you being with me. Now at this point, the idea is you have an entire portal done with an authentication system and also a complete CRUD module. Add, edit, delete, and look at all the data. So using the exact same concept, you should be able to do any other CRUD module based on any of the database tables. So I think back in part 5, I think we talked about how to create a database table and also reverse engineer to create the ORM. That's how you would start. Let's say you wanted to add an employee module. So the first thing you want to do is go back to your workbench, come up with your employee table, and then once that's done, of course, fill up your data there. Then you come back here using the Hibernate reverse engineering, that the process that we described in part 5. You create something like this in object relational mapping. And then once you're done with that, then the next thing to do is add your module. So you can add your module by going to this header, which has a link. So add one more link, maybe in this drop down where you have the administration, add an employee module, or maybe in here, it doesn't matter, you decide. And then have the context /employee. Then you can just add one more folder like / right click employee, and then add similar pages, index and maintain. Index would take care of all the listing all the employees, and maintain will take care of the other CRUD modules. Add and edit, and your delete can be inside your table as you have in the vaccine tab. So basically follow the exact same trail. You're also going to need another different controller, so you can add an employee controller, for example, and take care of your add, edit, all of the different context. So that's basically the idea. And of course, don't forget to go to the security context and add whatever new URL that you added. So like you would add, let's say /employee as one more URL that you wanted to give access to with a secure portal, whoever has admin and user access. So stuff like that. So it should be very straightforward. Once you have gone through this entire series, you should be able to do any other module. Now last but not the least, one thing I would like to mention is in any of my YouTube videos, if you go down to the description below, of course, I think after part 3 you will see all the codes checked in the GitHub. You have that link, but in all of the videos you're also going to have this application demo link where I just added it recently. You should be able to just click on this link and just look at the demo application. So it's out there. If you want, you can log in with any of your social media accounts if you want, or if you don't like that, you can just log in as anonymous, which is continuing as guest.
Welcome anonymous.
Do all that, and the only
Today
difference
is
is
Friday,
you just log in as a
April
normal
30th,
user.
2021.
You cannot change anything. You can
59.
only view the data. That's all it is. So you can kind of see how that thing works. If you really want admin access to actually manipulate the data, shoot me a message or shoot me an email. I will set it up for you, and you could look at the actual entire system with all access.
Welcome Dominica Z. Mellon.
This is what I demoed.
Today is Friday, April 30th, 2021
tutorial, I think. So here you
59
can
p.m.
go through any of these modules, and you can actually do everything. Pretty much edit, delete, and all that. I will put all of my code for this part, part 10, into the GitHub link. That would be in the description below, and also along with the link for the application. So that's about it. I wish you all the best, and I will come back with more cool stuff, more new technologies. Thanks, bye now.